Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2023 movie named The Wrath of Becky. Keep alert, spoilers incoming. In the opening scene, Becky and her dog named Diego are being introduced to a new foster family of the Gibbs. They welcome her inside where they gladly tell her about their plans of taking her to school, and the family seems all happy together. After dinner they take her to her bedroom and tell her to feel at home, but when her foster mom leaves, Becky escapes from the room. Later on she explains how her father was murdered 4 years ago, though she revenged, and now at 16 years she gets time to train herself with different survival tactics. She escaped from 2 foster homes and now has been staying with Mrs. Elena for about a year, and while having breakfast she asks her if she slept well. She informs her that she couldn't sleep well as she received memories of her mom and dad, but Elena informs her that she had a great night as that of a baby. They both begin to name the things they are grateful for, as Elena tells her that she is grateful for her novel as well as another day being alive, and Becky tells her that she is grateful for the food as well as her dog. At work, Becky gets called sweetheart by a customer who needs more butter toast, hence Becky reminding him her name as on the tag, and later sit to have her break before punching out to leave work. Back home, they are playing word puzzle and Elena reveals to her that she had 4 brothers and only one is still alive, and Becky wonders why she has never asked her where she came from. Elena informs her that as long as she does what she has to do, she doesn't care much, but meanwhile over the radio they announce the incoming of a notorious group named the Noblemen who cause chaos wherever they go. While at work, 3 men enter the diner and start by insulting Becky that her mom was a stripper and they would like to have time with her, but instead Becky takes them peacefully to the sitting lobby. They begin to discuss their plans on attacking Senator Hernandez after meeting their leader named Daryl, but suddenly one of them named Anthony insults Becky again while ordering for coffee. Becky brings the coffee and offer the first men their cups and intentionally pour the hot coffee onto Anthony and pretend it was an accident, which angers him. When it's time to leave work, the guys notice her and decide to go after her, and that night, while in her room, Becky looks critically at the key left by her father but suddenly hear weird sounds, hence moving downstairs. While looking around, Anthony holds her by the mouth but she hits him with her head as her dog shows up, though it gets hit with a bat by DJ while running to her rescue. He puts her at gunpoint and orders her to sit down, and when the third man shows up he wonders what's going on, as they told him they were only going to threaten her. While planning to punish her, Elena shows up with a gun and orders the man with a gun to put it down, which he does, and she orders them to leave her house, but Anthony gets a pistol from his back and shoots her in the head, which makes Becky scream, and when she gets up to attack them she gets hit on the wall to faint. After a while she's awake and moves slowly to reach Elena's corpse with a lot of grief, but suddenly notice that her dog is missing and move out to call it. The scene jumps to a distant house in the woods where the 3 men have arrived, but Anthony reminds them that no one should say anything about what happened, and when one of them named Sean seems worried that Becky might call police, Anthony threatens him to stay quiet. Becky gets some items belonging to Elena and passes through some of her old photos before moving out to give her a burial, as she thanks her for the time she gave her and promised to go find her dog. She starts to collect some items that could be of use and set some traps before dressing up in an overall and set herself ready. Since she heard them talk about meeting with Daryl, she finds out only 2 people named Daryl in the area, and on meeting the first one she finds an old sickly woman smoking cigarette and doesn't seem to be the one she is looking for, and on moving to the second one she confirms he is the one she is looking for after noticing their flag. Inside the house the team is sitting for dinner as Daryl gives them a prayer before the meal, and after the prayer they begin to eat, though Twig and DJ begin to discuss about a female as DJ seems to have a wrong perspective on it. Twig informs him the right definition before Daryl asks Sean why he is not taking his meal and order him to take off his cape while on dinner. Daryl asks them where they got the dog and they lie that they got it after they found 2 of them fighting, but Becky is watching everything keenly. Suddenly Sean stands up to go use the washrooms as Daryl looks suspicious, but Becky is outside where she opens a window to move inside one of the rooms where she notices all the plan on their attack at the town hall and takes some photos of it. Daryl approaches Sean and take him to the room as he asks him when he became a nobleman, though Becky is under the sofa listening to them. Daryl reveals to Sean a thumbnail drive which contains secretive names of all the disciples of the noble men before telling him of his experience while he was still serving in the force. He tells him a scary story of one their fellow soldier who he killed because he was going to get them exposed and remind him that everyone has to do his part for the team. Though Sean seems scared, he asks Sean why they delayed to arrive, but Sean lies that they had a tire puncture, and Daryl suddenly realizes the open window and closes it before looking suspiciously around at the room, but he gets called by his teammates. Becky moves out to witness the list of the noblemen, which seems so long, hence taking the drive with her and run away to a warehouse where they keep their weapons that they intend to use in their attack. On the city hall, she witnesses all the different guns as Daryl and the others are having a toss, but they suddenly hear someone knock, and when Daryl moves out he doesn't see anyone but suddenly notice a phone ringing. Daryl takes it inside and it's Becky calling, which worries Anthony and his friends, and when Sean tries to reveal the truth, Anthony speaks first that it's not a big deal as they only took a dog from her. She calls again, and when Daryl picks her she informs them she was once a good girl, but when she became bad she became so bad. Though DJ takes it as a joke and a childish threat, Daryl orders them to give her the dog, and Anthony volunteers to go talk to her first so as to avoid her from talking to the police, and after give her the dog. He moves out to call Becky that he is gonna give her her dog, but instead Becky just moves into the woods, hence Anthony following her and threaten her with a gun. And since he doesn't want the others to hear a gunshot he moves to get her but ends up falling into a pit trap. Becky takes the advantage of the gun as helpless Anthony pleads, though the other men are enjoying music as Becky sets a trap on the door. When the music is done they hear someone knocking on the door, and when Daryl opens he notices Anthony tied with a grenade and shortly blasts his head off, which the others witness, hence Sean vomiting. When they move back inside they question themselves what to do next, and Daryl suddenly gets a gun to question Sean and DJ what they are hiding, hence Sean telling him the truth that earlier on they killed an old woman and stole Becky's dog. Sean realizes the truth about their plan to attack the town hall and decide to quit, but DJ tries to persuade him to stay, but he insists to leave, hence Daryl approaching him and try to convince him to stay before hitting him in the neck and kill him on the spot. He turns to DJ and questions his loyalty, and he confirms he is on his side before Becky calls again to intimidate Daryl, who tries to convince her that he is gonna get her the dog, but Becky reveals to him that she knows about their plan to attack the town hall, which shocks Daryl. Twig moves out to check for her, as she tells Daryl about the missing drive before shooting Twig with an arrow through the cheeks, and when Daryl pulls it out Twig decides to go after Becky, who intimidates him, and then run through the woods. She moves to the warehouse where Twig nearly shoots her as Daryl threatens DJ to move out and look for Becky as they need her alive since she has the drive, but instead DJ just gets into the car and run away. Becky mind plays Twig in the warehouse before throwing a smoke grenade at him, forcing him to shoot not until when he runs out of the bullets, and later crawl outside to avoid the smoke where Becky finds him. He pleads to be forgiven, that he is gonna change to be a responsible man to his wife and son, but when Becky asks him the name of his son he tells her that he is called Adolf, which angers Becky to cut him multiple times with a blade before finally getting drugged. Moments later she wakes up tied on a chair, captured by Daryl, who tells her that she won't manage to escape, and show her the different things he found in her bag and mostly the key that contains coordinates. Suddenly the old sickly woman she met earlier named Daryl Sr. shows up, and it turns out that she is the one behind the formation of the noble men. She asks Becky for the thumbnail drive, but she tells her that it's the only leverage she is still alive, and Daryl Sr. warns her that if she doesn't cooperate she would leave her son to take advantage of her, but Becky doesn't seem ready for any negotiations even when they offer her chance to join them. They get her dog out of the cage and begin to show it good hospitality and feed it before Daryl starts to torture it, which hurts Becky, and on realizing it they ask her for the drive, and she promises to tell them after returning the dog in the cage. It turns out that she has untied one of her hands and hit Daryl before spraying in his face, but Daryl Sr. gets out a gun and warns her not to do anything stupid, but when she turns to shoot the dog Becky gets chance to throw a blade into her head. Daryl hears the scuffle, and on moving out he finds his mother down, hence moving out to go for Becky and chase her through the woods as he shoots at her, and after a while she realizes one of her marks and stop. When Daryl tries to reach her, he falls into traps and falls down into another that finishes him as Becky watches and get her key from his pocket and leave. She moves back to the house to get her dog, but it turns out Daryl Sr. isn't fully dead, hence sending Diego to attack her as she stares. 24 hours later, Becky gets approached by a CIA agent who shows her the drive and inform her that they have been looking for all the men on the list across different states and wonder how she managed to put down one cell single-handedly. She gets offered a chance to be recruited in the CIA, which she accepts, being the youngest ever CIA recruit. Later on, DJ is seen assuming that he escaped before noticing a police car approaching him, hence getting his gun ready as the officer moves out, and it turns out to be Becky who gets an RPG and blasts him, bringing the movie to the end. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.